Are you ready for the interview?
Yeah. You?
Yeah. I mean, what do we have to do? We have to just narrate our life experience.
I'm Sujata Seshadrinathan, co-founder and director IT process and product at Basiz Fund Services Private Limited.
Hi, I'm Aditya Sesh. I am the founder and managing director of Basiz Fund Services, the financial services group. One of the things I realized that you have to be Atmanirbhar, meaning you have to take care of yourself. A job or an employment can only take you so much, and the rest you really have to do for yourself if you want to fulfill your dreams. So there came a time in life, she and me were already married, and we realized that if you have to come up, do it on your own. If you have to drown, do it on your own. So this is what brought us to the world of entrepreneurship. Challenges were many, because when I started Basiz Fund Services, it was more like a concept, and I sold concept, and I have got anecdotes to tell you that since it was a concept, people even wondered whether you could take this activity to the next room, and that is what I would be asked, and how do I take it miles away across oceans. So the concept itself of financial reporting as an outsourced activity was a bit difficult for people to fathom, especially in the Western world. And the fact that it was being done by an Indian and Asian, I still clearly remember being in a plane load of Europeans, and I was probably the only Indian on that flight, or someone of brown color. So the challenges really boiled down to the concept itself. But once it was accepted, then the rest is history.
Well, technology happened basically because it wasn't me. I was all set for, I wanted to study medicine. I had this obsession with, the brain, and I wanted to become a neurosurgeon. And I had all the marks, all the grades, all the right kind of guides also for it. But then my father wasn't very keen on me taking up medicine. So I went on to, he said it's commerce, and of course I did have enough grades for everything, so I took up commerce, but the interest lie more in IM and IAS after that. Technology again happened because it was my father who sensed it, and all three of us sisters got into IT. Those days, as you rightly said, IT wasn't existing, and as software as we know it today, and the companies as we know them today, they were just about rising. And women, I wouldn't say were underrepresented, but it is the IT sector that though women were already working in lots in a lot of our big companies and public sector companies, they were the pioneers. But in IT, there were some specific challenges like longer working hours, and men having their fag break and trying to put us down because we would leave office in 8 hours, 8.5 hours, and there were very specific challenges to tech. But coming from that background, I can tell you one thing: some of the most intelligent tech minds, which have got the relevant anal and mathematical skills for tech. I don't have to tell you this, but the whole lot of it is said that computers itself and COBOL as a language, these have all been the women who were at the forefront of bringing these things up. So a woman's mind does work brilliantly well in technology. So which is why you see a lot of us in tech. It was very challenging in the beginning, and but it had its own. It did give us a lot to work on, but it also gave us a lot to be happy about. Simultaneously, what was happening is that more than and in tech or in companies that I worked for, the biggest resistance I faced was in a company that I bootstrapped, I incubated. My own company that has me as the largest shareholder now, Basiz Fund Services. There was a lot of resistance from other partners and investors for me to join in, because then they would come up with strange claims like our wives would want to join in too. And it so happened that there was actually a partner whose almost good for nothing son joined the company. He was just taking advantage of the system that existed. So whatever it is, nature and God always works for people who work hard, is my belief. So it did so happen that in spite of all resistance, I managed to join Basiz. Again here, my contributions happened and they were recognized because, there were a lot of processes. Ours is a finance and accounting company. So I came with this background of hardcore tech. And what I did was, so when I'm coming from the tech background, I tend to analyze everything as a pseudocode, everything as a logic, which sometimes plays out against me because I'm not diplomatic when I'm logical. So when that happened, and I applied this logic to financial processes, to accounting processes. And that is from where we realized that my working with Basiz could have a lot of synergies.
The core values have always been to tell the truth, because truth is so ever pertinent, so ever reliable. The core principles is to pay taxes on time and pay the right amount of taxes. The core principle is to develop everything into a process that makes the service reliable and repeatable. The core principle is to say that what you get from the community, you give back to the community in more ways than one. And I often say that it does not cost more than $1 to think and act like the Tata Group, as an example. It doesn't. And so governance, disclosure, transparency, these have always been at the core of what Basiz Fund Services Group does. I do not know what my leadership skill or style is. I never bothered about it. But all I know is that you keep all the stakeholders involved all the time. You be transparent with them. You share your problems and your opportunities and get the team together. Sabke saath, sabke vikas types. Get them together and walk along together. So that always has been my way of working. I listen to almost everybody that I can before I kind of take a call.
So core values are something that are non-negotiable for me. For me, truth wins above everything. And the only problem, even when I was bringing up my children, the rule was always that you say the truth. Because it does not matter, whether a person finds out the truth from you or the person will go digging for the truth and then the trust is lost. So for me, everything that is probably that is not right or that is not wrong, I don't know. But for me, world exists in black and white. Gray areas are not good for any leader. You may learn to handle gray areas as a black and white, but coming from also the business administration background, I do know that I have a very clear leadership style of actually taking the lead. I listen to everyone. I lead the team as I take responsibility for their actions. I am the person whose face is showing up in the front. I'm never absent. I will try to see to it that everybody is together. All synergies are built on the same track and we have common shared goals, which are again based on our core values and principles. At Basiz, what you see is what you get. Compliance is paramount for us. And as a person, at a personal level, I am in charge of a couple of things in my organization like process controls and certifications. Probably because I do this tough job of never allowing people to move away from governance and compliance. So we had one boss that I look up to, our founder Aditya Shesh. He always says, you pay taxes 30% plus 1. We'll put in for a claim later on. So that's the principle we follow. We always see to it, we sense now we are in accounting business and we are accounting for AIS other than ours. Our accounting standards are other standards. So these are prone to changes as far as the fund industry is concerned. So we actually run these scanners every year before the financial statement season begins to see if there are any changes, so that we can advise our clients ahead of time and we can get them not to make any mistakes and be compliant at the first shot itself. So that you can call it the basis edge, or you can call it a leadership style that has actually developed over our core values of being always on the right track. Because once you stray from the right track, the correction time that you lose can be huge.
Optimize your cash flows and expenses and even your mindset so that you weather the period of time. Many organizations have survived just because they tended to stay longer. They tended to swim through the business cycles. They tended to overcome all setbacks, because at the end of the day, customers like those companies that have stayed for a period of time, because the history gives them a pathway to the future when they engage with the company. Likewise, companies like to engage with companies that have the next generation that is already working for them, because at the end of the day, 65% of the companies in Bombay Stock Exchange that are listed there still are family owned but professionally run. So these kind of organizations have the ability to endure all weather situations.
So I teach entrepreneurship, and my entrepreneurship session lasts about 2.5 hours. So I can share a classical PowerPoint presentation with you and talk about entrepreneurship. That entrepreneurship that I teach and I share my experience with are almost overlapping at a point where the amount of efforts that are taken in it are shared. So as far as I'm concerned, you had these economics taught us land, labor, capital, enterprise. So enterprise is what brings the other three together, right? And therefore it's a big job. Personally, I believe, and I have lived a life where I have understood that you have to be extremely blessed to be able to do for a living that what you love to do. If your passion is also your income earner, you're an incredibly lucky person. And for us, luckily, we started on this journey from before the word couplepreneurs. In fact, we started on an entrepreneurship journey from before the word startups even became a word. And we didn't have this kind of financial system or ecosystem that was backing entrepreneurship yet at that time. So we struggled through the first few years, but then we learned those lessons that are actually necessary for an enterprise that can go and live its life out successfully. So I believe that if you have a life where you can make your passion your income earner, then your work is your balance. Entrepreneurship essentially means you will not ever bother about how many hours I worked this week.
If I were to be reborn, I would be reborn as an entrepreneur.
Yeah, works for you. Doesn't work for me when the business is going through its cycle like all businesses and you're forced to give an increment to your staff. You're forced to. You think anybody does it happily? Nobody does it happily. Well, as a shareholder seems very romantic to hear, but a shareholder, stakeholder, when we face a year of loss, is not exactly romantic.
I think most of the time we visit the temple.
I was just thinking the same. So
I'd say thank you, God.
We have a sense of deep gratitude. The day when we have had a success are some of the days we spend longest at work. Because we bring work home. And we don't believe in not bringing work home. We believe in bringing work home because that has managed to show our two children what it is to work. And that is why, like Shesh was mentioning, most of the most successful businesses out there are still family owned, because the dining table conversation teaches the children what to do, how to live life, how to manage a business, how to manage work. They learn it first time hand with their parents.
Real MBA.
So yeah, they see it every day. So for us, a success always means a lot of gratitude. We've come up the hard way, We've come up from the spot where he would bring home enough to just pay the EMIs and the driver's salary. The rest of the stuff, which is the kids' fees and the very important food bills, were paid from the bootstrapper. And so we have seen those days. So for us, success is a lot of gratitude. We say our thanks.
Every day.
Actually, we said our thanks for being able to tide through the lockdown, paying every single month's salary on time. And
and appraising people as well.
Yeah. So at that point, I took a stand, and I'm the majority shareholder. So I took a stand saying, no, you're not going to release all salaries to everyone. Whereas Shesh and he managed to convince the others, he managed to convince me too, that we had a cutoff level below which all employees' salaries would be released 100% on time every month, like business as usual. And all of us in the management team were given an option to be able to volunteer for a 30% pay deferment for 3 months.
Integrity and straightforwardness. I think that's what I love, and the frankness with which we work. And that also means we have high decibel conversations, but we know at the end of the day we can talk the truth to each other and reconcile our positions. And what brought us together is pretty strange, but what keeps us together is at the core of it all, our thought process and our principles are the same. I think that is what helps us to be together, and that's the most fun part of our daily life.
Shesh and I are, well, it's not a cliche for us. We are actually opposites of each other. I don't know what you would call it, yin and yang or sun or moon or whatever, but if he prefers something hot to drink, you don't even have to ask me. I would prefer something cold. We are natural opposites. He is a steady, silent, always composed kind of being, and I am always prone to everything from volcanic eruptions on to raving, ranting, and everything in between. So we are natural born opposites, and being together and working together has taught us that people can exist in all zones, and bringing them together onto a common platform is not as difficult as it is made out to be. It only needs common values. We have 3 children. We got a son and a daughter, and we have got Basiz. So all 3 of our kids are brought up on the same 3 values, and they know that as parents, as business partners, and Shabrisha's son working to take over the company from us. So we have a succession plan there. And the younger one, my daughter Sopanika, who I birthed just to spoil, just to have a princess spoiled brat who turned out to be a lawyer. But whatever it is, the children know that the non-negotiables of life are truth. It is integrity. It comes at a huge price in times like today, but it is the only value that wins at the end of the day. You may pay a price for it, but what is the end result of a life lived on truth is usually more sustaining.
The day often starts with knowing what's happening in the world through Twitter and shorts, and kind of going through what's happening very quickly. Then we go on to the regular, the conversations over a cup of tea. These are short conversations followed by prayers, and by that time I kind of combine the walk to the temple as also an exercise, because it not only uplifts you physically but also spiritually. And I think being connected spiritually is a very important part of life. And once you go to the office, then I do not know what time I am back, because there are so many things to do if I'm not traveling. So that's a bit about a day in the life.
Again, during weekends for rest is this, that
We just chill out at home.
we chill out at home. We love our homes. So instead of having one huge big home, we've got many smaller homes which are more manageable for a working woman. So what we do again is that initially what had made me say yes to Mr. Seshadri is the fact that he was a performing classical musician, though he gave it all up. So classical music and dance is something that we keep going back to. Apart from that, I have a winding up, winding down every day because I just love Hindi movies and Malayalam movies. I worship Kishore Kumar and Shami Kapoor, and my assistant gods are O.P. Nayyar and Gulzar Saab. So I just love to listen to their output and love to watch their output. I read a lot. I do read a lot of even spiritual material. I read Bhagavatam. I read the unabridged Mahabharata and our spiritual texts. I do understand Sanskritam, so those are how I unwind. Almost daily, twice a day we have our prayer and meditation session. We do our aarti. Everybody in our home is free to practice their form of being in touch with God, and we do that also to be able to recalibrate our mind. I love cooking as a daily. For most people, cooking is a passion when occasionally done. For me, I cook twice daily and I love doing it. I love eating what I cook. So that's another break for me. And for Shesh?
I write a lot. So these days I write a lot of articles. I write articles on agriculture, on commerce, on geopolitics. I think politics is simply inseparable from our lives. If you say that you have no interest in politics, actually you have no interest in life. Politics is a part and parcel of life, and one must take interest in it. One must take interest in our parliamentary form of democracy, the parliament, how it functions, so on and so forth, because these are intertwined in your life. As Sujata said, we go to classical music programs. I like a lot of Marathi movies, and we watch them. I hear songs from Marathi movies. I tend to hum. Also, a lot of weekend is spent on social activities,
projects,
social projects
of the Sujata Shesh Foundation.
Visiting foundation projects and going off to far off places outside the city. So
Shesh is the biggest fan of Pandit Venkatesh Kumarji and the other person, Ashwini Bide Deshpande.
Yep.
So these are some of his loves for music, and
I actually also run a program.
A lot of abhangs.
Yeah, I also do programs called Matdan Ki Mahima, where we educate people on why they should vote. So you will find in all my articles one common thread is to solve all the problems. Just go and vote. I often say, "Sabhi samasyaon ka samadhan aapka matdan." So I think it's very important that we vote. I am not happy that we just vote 63%. We should vote 90%, because if you do not, somebody does. I've probably done around 90 or 100 videos so far on my YouTube channel. The YouTube channel is mostly about politics, political events, agriculture, economics, new legislations, landmark cases. And why am I doing this? Because not all of y'all have the time to read through pages and pages, and I try to bring that in a very sharp, summarized and succinct form, and not more than 3 minutes many times, so that you can listen to it and experience what's happening outside. It's for you. We thank Equalifi and the team to have given us the opportunity to tell people what we have learned and share our experience. Not all of this may be relevant to everybody, but even if somebody picks up a bit, and then deploys it in their lifespan over the years, I think the world would be a better place. Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Thank you, Team Equalify. It has been very beautiful interacting with you yet again.